I never planned to press record that day. No ring light, no perfect angle, no intention of sharing my pain with strangers. I was just a mother standing in her kitchen, watching her daughter fall apart. Her backpack slid slowly off her shoulder and hit the floor with a soft thud. She didn't even notice. Her small hands were shaking. Her eyes were red, swollen, exhausted, like she'd been crying long before she walked through the door. And before I could ask how her day was, she broke. Undercore, undercore, or undercore. My daughter wasn't fragile. She was loud when she laughed, curious about everything, the kind of kid who waved at strangers and asked too many questions. She loved school, loved the smell of crayons, loved reading out loud, loved raising her hand even when she wasn't sure of the answer. Every morning she stood in front of the mirror fixing her hair, humming to herself. That morning was no different. She chose her favorite sweater, the one she said made her feel brave. She packed her lunch carefully like it mattered. I kissed her forehead and said, "Have a good day, okay?" She smiled. That smile would not come back the same. When she came home, the house felt wrong. Parents know this feeling. The air changes. Your instincts wake up. She didn't run to me, didn't talk about recess, didn't ask what was for dinner. She sat at the table and stared at her hands. I crouched down and said gently, "Hey, talk to me." Her lips trembled. She tried to smile. Then her eyes filled with tears, the kind kids try to hide because they don't want to worry you. But pain always finds a way out. Ulu Mendaso. At first, she couldn't speak. Her shoulders shook. Her breath came out in short, broken gasps. I wrapped my arms around her, feeling how small she was. Finally, she whispered, "Mom." That's when I knew this wasn't about a bad grade or a fight with a friend. She looked up at me and asked, "Why do they hate me?" My heart stopped. I asked who. She swallowed hard and said, "The kids at school." She didn't say racism. She didn't say bullying. Children don't have those words yet. She said, "They said my eyes are weird. They said my skin looks dirty. They said I don't belong here." Each sentence landed like a punch. Then she said the sentence that destroyed me. I tried to be quiet so they wouldn't see me. What kind of world teaches a child to disappear? I wanted to scream. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drive to that school and demand answers. But in that moment, none of that mattered. What mattered was the child in my arms asking, "Is something wrong with me?" No parent should ever hear that. I told her the truth, that she was beautiful, that she was smart, that she was perfect exactly as she was. But I also knew, words don't erase humiliation. Ersticht, Ersticht. She kept crying, not loudly, quietly, the kind of crying that comes from deep inside. I grabbed my phone, not for views, not for attention, but because I needed proof. Proof that this pain was real, proof that this wasn't kids being kids, proof that racism isn't taught late, it starts early. I asked gently, "Can you tell me what they said?" She looked straight into the camera and cried, "Mom, I just wanted friends, _____. School is supposed to be a place of safety. But for many children, it becomes their first lesson in cruelty. No bruises, no broken bones. Just words that follow them home. Words that replay at night. Words that change how they see themselves. Underscore, underscore, underscore. Underscore, 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 underscore. That night, she barely ate. She asked if she had to go back tomorrow. I didn't lie. I said yes. She nodded quietly. Then, she asked, "Can you walk me to the door?" She had never asked that before. Under postcard, learned alert. Under the alert. I posted the video late at night. Hands shaking, I almost deleted it. But then I thought about other kids sitting silently in their rooms thinking they were alone. By morning, the video had spread. Thousands of comments, parents, teachers, strangers. People saying, I was that child, I wish my mom had protected me like this broke me, her pain was no longer invisible. Or go frugal. People didn't see weakness. They saw truth. They saw a child asking a question no child should ever ask. They saw what racism actually looks like. Not loud hatred, but quiet cruelty. That night, I sat beside her bed. She asked, did I do something wrong? I said no. She asked, will they stop? I said I didn't know. Then I promised her something. You will never face this alone. She held my hand tight. Nulamida lur walim bidlave non-dessing sorohor. The next morning she was scared. But she stood up anyway. That's courage, not the absence of fear, but moving forward despite it. The morning air was cold. Not winter was cold, but sharp enough to sting. My daughter walked beside me, her small hand gripping mine tighter than usual. Her backpack bounced softly against her back, lighter than it should have felt. She didn't talk. She didn't hum. She just walked. Every step toward that school felt heavier than the last. When we reached the door, she stopped. Mom? She whispered. I knelt down. What if they start again? I didn't promise her something I couldn't control. I said, then we face it. Together. She nodded and walked inside. Wombersor dolor dor bullard yolub. Wombersor dor bullard dolor dullard. I sat in my car for a long time after. Parents usually leave quickly. Late for work, coffee in hand. I couldn't. My chest felt tight. I watched children run past laughing, carefree, unaware of the invisible lines already forming between them. That's the thing about bullying. Adults rarely see it. It lives in whispers, in looks, in moments teachers don't notice. And I knew something had to change. The wonder whore, the call came that afternoon. The principal's voice was polite, professional. We'd like to speak with you, she said, about what your daughter shared. Not what happened. Shared. I took a deep breath. I'll be there, I said. About what your daughter shared, not what happened. Shared. The school office smelled like old paper and disinfectant. Familiar. Comforting. And suddenly, hostile. I sat across from the principal, the counselor, and her teacher. All kind faces. All concerned. But concern doesn't fix damage. I told them everything. What my daughter said. How she cried. The words that broke her. The counselor nodded slowly. The teacher looked down. The principal sighed. We had no idea, she said. That sentence hurts more than people realize. Because children don't speak up when they're afraid. Softly. Someone said it. Softly. Almost apologetically. Kids don't always understand the impact of their words. I leaned forward. My daughter understood enough to want to disappear. Silence. The room changed. Because suddenly, this wasn't a policy issue. It was human. I taught them one question. One or score. I asked them one question. What happens next? They talked about investigations, about conversations, about sensitivity training. All necessary. But not enough. I said, my child doesn't need punishment for others. She needs protection. Ooger. 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 Wawabaga. Arma. Wawa arma. Arma. That afternoon, she came home quiet again. I asked how school was. She shrugged. That scared me more than tears. Because silence means survival mode. Later that night, I heard her talking to her stuffed animal. I don't want to be weird anymore, she said. I sat outside her door and cried silently. Nendazase. The video kept spreading. News outlets reached out. Advocacy groups shared it. Parents messaged me stories that sounded exactly like ours. Different cities, different schools. Same pain. This wasn't rare. It was invisible. Until now. Indagar scored. One message stood out. I'm a teacher. I missed this happening in my classroom. Thank you for opening my eyes, another said. I was bullied for my race. I'm 40 now and I still remember it. That's the part people don't talk about. Childhood cruelty doesn't stay in childhood. Lowerford sumlaid frashendord undersore. Shorewise undersullinashon. Lowerfollinashon. Lowerwise undersulliord undersore. Shore, lowerwise sully lowerfolord undersore. One evening, my daughter asked, why do they care what I look like? How do you explain centuries of hate to a child who just wants friends? I said, sometimes people are afraid of what they don't understand. She thought for a moment. Then said, that's silly, she was right. Court. The school assigned a counselor to work with her. Slowly, she began to talk again. About her fears. About the looks, about pretending not to hear. She learned something important. What happened to her was wrong. Not confusing, not complicated. Wrong. One day she came home smiling. Just a little. A girl shared her crayons with me, she said. It wasn't much, but it was everything. Healing doesn't arrive loudly, it whispers. Healing doesn't arrive loudly. The school held an assembly. About kindness, about differences, about respect. My daughter sat in the audience, listening, watching. When the principal said, no one should feel they don't belong here, she squeezed my hand. Not every day was better. Some mornings she didn't want to go. Some nights she cried again. Healing isn't a straight line. It curves. It stumbles. It pauses. And sometimes it hurts all over again. Save school. I received a message from another parent. My child was involved. I'm so sorry. We are having hard conversations at home now. I read it twice. This was change. Uncomfortable. Necessary. One night she surprised me. Mom, she said, can I help other kids like me? I asked how, she said. By telling them they're not broken. I realized something then. Pain had not destroyed her. It had shaped her. There was backlash too, comments saying I overreacted, that kids should toughen up. Those people never sat on a kitchen floor holding a crying child. Silence is easier than responsibility. But I would choose noise every time. Underscore, lore, Mundor, lore, Omer, lore, underscore. She started raising her hand again, started laughing louder, started correcting people when they mispronounced her name. She wasn't fearless, she was brave. There's a difference. Heart, poor. One evening, she looked at herself in the mirror and said, I like my face. I turned away so she wouldn't see my tears. Time didn't erase what happened. It revealed it. Weeks passed. Then months. The memory didn't disappear. It softened around the edges. What once felt like an open wound became a scar, and scars tell stories. They don't say I was weak. They say, I survived. It happened during group reading. A boy laughed at the way she pronounced a word. The room went quiet. Old fear tried to rise. But this time, she lifted her head, and she said, please don't do that. It hurts. Her voice shook. But she didn't stop. The teacher stepped in immediately. But something important had already happened. She had chosen herself. Courage doesn't shout. It whispers. It shows up quietly. In moments no one applauds. That day when she came home, she didn't cry. She told me what happened. Then she said, I was scared, but I did it anyway. That's when I knew. She was healing. Courage Lectureshore, an ex-corn. Her counselor suggested an exercise. Write a letter to yourself, she said. To the you who felt small. She brought the paper home. We sat together. And she wrote, Dear me, you are not strange. You are not ugly. You are not wrong. You belong here. I still have that letter. The video never truly stopped circulating. Every few weeks, someone new would discover it. A new wave of messages would arrive, teachers using it in training, parents sharing it with their children, adults apologizing to their younger selves. Her tears had become a mirror, and people finally looked. People kept asking me, do you regret posting it? My answer never changed. No, because silence never protected my child. Speaking did. A year passed. The school looked the same. But it wasn't. Diversity programs had been added. Teachers were trained differently. Conversations were happening, out loud. My daughter walked those halls differently now, with her head up. One afternoon, she came home excited. There's a new girl, she said. She cries sometimes. My heart tightened. What did you do? She smiled. I sat with her. That was it. No speech. No lesson. Just presence. That's the thing about pain. It can either harden you or open you. She chose open. And that choice changed her more than the bullying ever did. One night, as I tucked her into bed, she asked, Mom, why did it hurt so much? I answered honestly. Because words teach us how to see ourselves. She nodded. Then she said, Then I'll use mine carefully. I learned that protecting your child doesn't always mean shielding them. Sometimes it means amplifying them. Giving their pain a voice. Standing beside them when the world feels loud and cruel. No moster. Not everyone learned. Not everyone changed. Some people stayed silent. And that's okay. Healing doesn't require permission. The NAF stays her for hormoster. She laughs easily now. She corrects people kindly. She explains her culture proudly. She no longer shrinks herself. She still has bad days, but they don't define her. One morning, I watched her brush her hair. She looked at her reflection, smiled, and said, I look like me. That was enough. Because somewhere right now, a child is sitting quietly, thinking their pain is invisible, thinking they are the problem. They are not. Or not. If this story reaches you, please hear this. There is nothing wrong with your face. Nothing wrong with your voice. Nothing wrong with your name. The world is still learning. That is not your burden. Numalita droller. If you're grown now, but remember being that child, I see you. You deserved better. And it's not too late to heal. But remember being that child, I see you. She once asked me, why do they hate me? Now she asks, how can I help? That's the difference love makes. Who underscore, undergoal, one underscore, who underscore, underscore, who underscore. I didn't record that video to go viral. I recorded it because my child was breaking. What happened next proved something powerful. Truth spreads faster than hate. And when we listen to our children, really listen, we don't just protect them, we change the future.